Good morning. This is Jacob Bolton, Associate Pastor of Faith and Christian Formation at Westminster Presbyterian Church. This is our morning devotion. Happy Palm Monday. Now, if you've been following along with these devotions, you know that I have been focusing on our origin stories. Why? Well, because the origin story of your faith, the origin story of the community of faith in which you are a part, mixes, combines with the origin story of our collective faith, the Bible, our tradition, our history. And when those things are melded, they are the perfect combination of faith formation. Now, we all have different talents, different ways that we maintain our skills, our credentials. In some of our professions, we need continuing education credits or tests that we take every handful of years to make sure that we're still professional, credentialed, certified to do our work. Some need to take new exams. Some need to go to continuing education classes, seminars. Some of us rehearse. I know that Yuri, our church organist, when you're done, when this is over and we can actually go back into the church, if you have the chance, watch her rehearse. She is amazing at the organ. Dentists have to make sure that they're up to date with the latest science. I know that clergy, we have to do a handful of different things. We have continuing ed money every year, and we can go and we can study and we can retreat. So what are the ways that you stay certified? What are the ways that you stay credentialed? What are the ways that you stay as vibrant as possible and up to date in your field? And then what are the ways that you do that with your own faith, with your own spirituality, with the way that you connect with God? Well, one of the ways that I do my best to stay pastorally fed, prepared, aware, is by reading poetry. Now, poetry is not easy. Georgetown professor Cal Newport wrote a book entitled Deep Work. The whole topic of the book is how you need to actually set aside huge blocks of time to do anything more than just a mundane task. You need to intentionally block out space to go deeper. And to me, reading poetry is, in fact, deep work. Reading poetry is not like reading narrative. Even the most descriptive, the most powerful, the most evocative narrative, you just keep going because you want to find out what's next. At least I can. But when it comes to poetry, sometimes you just got to stop and take it in. You got to stop and let it marinate. Let it sit there, gnaw on it. Now, I have 3 poems that I'm going to share with you now this morning. 3 poems that I have been returning to throughout this COVID-19 situation. And when we're done, I'd invite you to Google them. Learn more about the authors. Find out more about their origin stories, about what brought them to these points, to these poetic words, to their, dare I even say, prophetic witness on the page. So here we are, spiritually and digitally intertwined, meshed together through hope and faith and the poetic word. Now, this first poem is a poem by a poet named Jane Kenyon, and she is a native Michigander. So hear now the wisdom and the poetry from Jane Kenyon. This is a poem called Let Evening Come. Let the light of late afternoon shine through chinks in the barn, moving up the bales as the sun moves down. Let the cricket take up chafing as a woman takes up her needles and her yarn. Let evening come. Let dew collect on the hoe abandoned in long grass. Let the stars appear and the moon disclose her silver horn. Let the fox go back to its sandy den. Let the wind die down. Let the shed go black inside. Let the evening come. To the bottle in the ditch, to the scoop in the oats, to air in the lung, let evening come. Let it come as it will, and don't be afraid. God does not leave us comfortless, so let evening come. Again, friends, that's from poet Jane Kenyon, who was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And she wrote that in 1990. But it's not evening. We're recording this at 8:30 in the morning. And so this next poem takes us from the evening to the riverbank, and it is by poet Wendell Berry. And Wendell Berry lives in Kentucky, and he is the unique combination of being both a poet and a farmer. This next poem is called Slip. The river takes the land and leaves nothing. Where the great slip gave way in the bank and an acre disappeared, all human plans dissolve. An awful clarification occurs where a place was. Its memory breaks from what is known now, begins to drift. Where cattle grazed and trees stood, emptiness widens the air for bird flight, wind, and rain. As before the beginning, nothing is there. Human wrong is in the cause. Human ruin is the effect, but no matter. All will be lost, no matter the reason. Nothing, having arrived, will stay. The earth even is like a flower. So soon passeth it away. And yet this nothing is the seed of all, the clear eye of heaven where all the worlds appear. Where the imperfect has departed, the perfect begins its struggle to return. The good gift begins again its descent. The Maker moves in the unmade, stirring the water until it clouds, dark beneath the surface, stirring and darkening the soul until pain perceives new possibility. There is nothing to do but learn and wait. Return to work on what remains. Seed will sprout in the scar. Though death is in the healing, it will heal. Friends, again, that was Wendell Berry. And I'm going to close with the great poet Maya Angelou. This also uniquely was written in 1990. And this poem is entitled When Great Trees Fall. This is probably the most famous of the three poems that I've shared this morning. But this is Maya Angelou. When Great Trees Fall. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder, lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks, never taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us. They existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. And that was Maya Angelou, friends. These 3 poems not only are ways that I help restore my soul, do my best to stay spiritually aware, but have really been grounding me in this last month, these last 4 weeks of we've lived into social distancing, in this new way of life, in this new way of being church. I hope they've spoken and touched your lives this morning. Much love. Hold fast.